Hey Virgo, I want to warn you about something before we begin. Not in a dramatic way. In the most sincere way, I know how to deliver a warning. What I am about to describe may produce something in you that you were not expecting to feel today. Something that rises from a place that has been waiting a long time to be reached by something this good. Welcome. And if something surfaces, let it. It has earned its moment. Something is coming and it is going to surprise you. Not in the small way that pleasant things surprise, in the deep way. The kind of surprise that moves through your whole body, that produces a stillness before the feeling fully arrives. The kind that makes your chest do something before your mind has caught up to what is happening. The kind that arrives and for a moment, everything is quiet inside you because something so good has landed that the ordinary noise of living simply stops. You have not felt this kind of surprise in a while. The good kind, the overwhelming good kind. The kind where the first response is not relief exactly, not happiness exactly, but something that has no word, that sits between those things and underneath them and is bigger than either of them alone. That kind is on its way. I want to talk about tears for a moment because the title says you might cry. And I want to speak about why, so that if it happens when the surprise arrives, you understand what your body is doing and why it is the most natural response in the world to something of this particular quality. We cry when something exceeds our capacity, not just with pain, with joy too, with relief, with the specific overwhelming quality of receiving something that we needed more than we knew, that we had perhaps stopped fully allowing ourselves to hope for because the hoping was costing too much and protecting ourselves from the possibility of not receiving it felt like the more survivable choice. When something arrives that exceeds the capacity of what we have been allowing ourselves to hope for, the body responds in the most honest way it knows, through tears, because the feeling is too large for any other container. If that happens, when the surprise arrives, do not stop it. Do not manage it back into composure. Do not decide that the feeling is too large and make it smaller. Let it be as large as it is, because the size of it is the measure of how much you needed it and how long you have been carrying the waiting. Now let me tell you what the surprise is, or as close as I can bring you to it, because I want you to feel it now as a preview, something to orient toward as you move through the days between now and when it lands. There is something resolving in your life, something that has been in a long state of uncertainty or distance or simply not yet. Something that required you to continue investing in the possibility of it without the confirmation that it was going to arrive, without the evidence that the hoping was justified, without anyone being able to tell you definitively, yes, this is going to work out. Hold on. You held on anyway. Not always confidently, not always without doubt, but you held, and what you held for is arriving in a form and at a scale that is going to make the holding feel not just worth it. Exactly right. The only thing that could have led here, uh, I want to describe the surprise more specifically because it may be arriving in more than one form, and I want you to be watching in all the right directions. There is something coming in love or in a connection that has the weight of love, even if it has not been named that way yet. Something that shifts or clarifies or arrives from a direction you were not specifically watching, but that when it lands, feels like the most natural thing in the world, like something that was always going to be true, and is only now becoming visible in the specific form that makes it real. There is something coming in your material world, a shift in resources or opportunity or the arrival of something that changes what is possible for you practically in the daily texture of your life, something that produces the particular relief of a burden lifting that you have been carrying so long you had almost accepted it as permanent. And there is something coming in your sense of yourself, a recognition, internal or external or both, of something you have been building toward quietly, without the validation that would have made the building easier, that suddenly arrives in a form that says, yes, this was real, this was worth it, you were right to believe in this. I want to speak about the intensity now, because the title says intense surprise. And I want you to understand what that intensity is going to feel like. So you are not caught completely off guard by the size of your own reaction. When it arrives, the intensity is not going to come from a single dramatic moment. Although there may be a specific moment that is the peak of it, the intensity is going to come from the accumulation, from the specific experience of receiving something good after a long time of receiving very little of it, or of receiving it in insufficient form, or in forms that required so much from you in return, that they did not feel like gifts. They felt like transactions. What is coming is not a transaction. It is a gift in the most uncomplicated sense, something that arrives without requiring you to be other than what you are, without asking you to give something equal in return immediately, without conditions attached to whether you deserve it, or whether the timing is right, or whether you have done enough to earn it. It simply arrives for you because it was always going to, and the intensity is the relief of that, of something arriving without being earned in the exhausting way that you have been earning things for a very long time. I want to speak now about why this is going to make you cry. If it does, because I want to honor that possibility rather than skipping past it. The tears of happiness, the specific kind I am describing, the overwhelming kind, the try not to cry but you might kind, are not about the thing that arrives. Exactly. They are about the release of everything that came before it, every moment of the waiting, every day of the not yet, every time you had to reach for faith in a possibility that was not yet confirmed by any evidence, every moment of doubt that you pushed through or sat with or carried quietly without showing anyone. The full weight of it, all of that, when the surprise arrives, gets to put itself down. Finally, the weight that you have been carrying in the hoping gets released all at once in the moment of receiving what the hoping was for. And that release of a weight you have been carrying for so long that you had forgotten what it felt like not to carry it produces tears, not from sadness, from the sheer physical relief of a body that has been holding something very heavy for a very long time, finally being allowed to set it down. I want to give you something to carry between now and when the surprise arrives, because the anticipation of something before it has fully landed can be its own kind of difficult. The waiting that comes after knowing something is coming, but not yet having it, is a particular kind of waiting that deserves some guidance. The first thing I want you to carry is permission to feel what you feel right now, even before the surprise arrives, even in the anticipation of it. If something is moving in you as you read this, something that feels like hope with a catch in its throat, something that wants to believe but is being careful, something that is reaching toward what I am describing, while simultaneously bracing in case it does not fully arrive, that is okay. That is the honest response of someone who has hoped before and been patient before and carried the weight before and learned to hold hope carefully, because carelessly held hope has cost them before. You do not have to hold this carelessly. You can hold it exactly the way you are holding it now, and it will still arrive. Because what is coming does not require your fearless believing to make it real. It is already real, whether you fully believe it yet or not. The second thing I want you to carry is the knowledge that the surprise is going to find you. You do not have to find it. You do not have to search for it or engineer the circumstances that would allow it to arrive, or position yourself perfectly for its reception. What is coming is coming toward you with intention, with the particular directional force of something that knows where it is going and is already in motion. In the days between now and its arrival, your only job is to remain open to the unexpected form in which it might arrive, to the direction from which it might come. That is not the direction you were watching, to the size of it, which may exceed what you have been allowing yourself to expect, and to receive it fully without immediately managing it into something smaller and more manageable, when what arrives is neither small nor manageable, but simply good, completely and entirely yours. And the third thing I want you to carry is this: you deserve this, not because you have been perfect, not because the waiting was graceful, not because you did everything right or held your faith without any wavering or showed up with perfect equanimity, through every difficult day of the long season. You deserve this because you are here, still reaching, still open, still capable of receiving something good, despite everything that has made receiving hard, despite the experiences that would have justified you closing entirely, against the possibility of this kind of surprise, because the risk of it not arriving was too much to carry while staying open. You stayed open anyway, and that staying open is what allows the surprise to land in the full force of what it is, rather than in a diminished form, filtered through armor that was not there. When it arrived, you deserve what is coming because of who you are and what you have continued to be. Through everything that tried to make you otherwise, the surprise is intense. It is coming. It is going to reach you in a place that has not been reached in a while by something this good. And when it does, you might cry. Let yourself, every tear is the weight of the waiting. Finally being released, every tear is the evidence of how much this matters and how long you carried the hoping for it before it arrived. Cry if you need to, because what is coming is worth it. Every single one.